Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I'm getting there. Yep. There we go. Alright, just have to do a little bit of sharing before we get going on this. Maybe, possibly, hopefully. I'm trying, sir. Let's see. Alright, and we're getting there slowly but surely. And watch party engaged. Hope. Alright, so we're going to get there. So, with that being said, guys, today's date is January 11, 2020, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On How the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, this is an adult podcast, which means that things of adult language may be said and things of a very destructive and disturbing nature may also be shown. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, a lot's happened this week. So the only way I can go into it is to start from the beginning, because apparently we are beefing with Iran because of this.
Math shows an attack that was deliberate and sustained. With around a half dozen explosions, the Americans firing with drones clearly didn't want to miss their target, Iran's general Qasem Soleimani. He'd reportedly just gotten into Iraq from Beirut and was leaving Baghdad airport when he was killed in a convoy of vehicles along with a top Iraqi militia leader. President Trump tonight.
Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him.
The imminent attacks planned by Soleimani targeted U.S. diplomats, U.S. military personnel, and facilities that house Americans in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and the region of the Middle East, a senior State Department official told reporters today. Qasem Soleimani was no ordinary general. The U.S. officially classified him as a terrorist, but in Iran, he was a national hero. Specifically, Soleimani was in charge of spreading Iranian influence around the world, and he was extremely good at it. Smart, charismatic, ruthless, strategic, and bold, Soleimani knit together a loyal network of armed groups from Iraq to Syria, Lebanon to Afghanistan. Anytime Iran attacked oil tankers in the Persian Gulf and then denied it, or attacked oil facilities in Saudi Arabia and denied that too, U.S. officials saw Soleimani's handiwork. His power made Iranians proud. Today, Iranians in the thousands came out to show their love and their anger. Soleimani was arguably Iran's most popular leader. For years, Soleimani operated in the shadows, and he spilled a lot of American blood.
Okay, so pretty much Trump decided to terminate Iranian Commander Salami, and the funny part about this is I love how he said terminate. You ever notice that every time Trump is talking, it's almost like he's talking in the ways of a business person? We had to terminate the former Iranian general. You killed him. This is what you did. I mean, you drone striked him, which is kind of funny because Obama used drone strikes and everybody was pissed off. Trump uses one drone strike, crickets. But that's not the only part of the story that's crazy. Keep in mind, this is an ongoing thing because as soon as that happened, as soon as we took out their general, this happened.
Out of the Middle East.
Breaking all through the night, Iran retaliated for the U.S. strike against their top commander, launching more than a dozen missiles at U.S. military bases in Iraq. No U.S. casualties have been reported, and overnight President Trump tweeted all is well. But Iran's supreme leader is calling this a slap in the face of the U.S. The big question right now, will this spark new retaliation or start to calm the crisis down?
And as all this was unfolding overnight, a Ukraine...
Yes, what do we expect? We killed their general. They're going to fire at us. Although at this point, Trump sitting there touting all is well. Hey, we just killed their general. They're firing missiles at us, but we're all right. Oh, yeah, that makes wonderful sense. That makes me feel so much better inside that, we started a war with another country, and yet we're fine. I don't understand how that works personally. I mean, my understanding is if you go shit on somebody's lawn, they're liable to come and probably whoop your ass. But you can't be surprised about the fact that they're going to whoop your ass because you did shit on their lawn. I'm just saying. I don't think Trump understands the rules of warfare personally. And again, that's not the only part of it, as this story just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Of course, Trump said at this point that basically only him can do the next thing here, which is still amazing to me. This is about a few days after he reports to General. This is what he does at a local rally.
His decision to authorize the deadly drone strike that killed a top Iranian general.
He used his first campaign rally of the year last night to blast the Iranian general as a bloodthirsty terrorist who was plotting to attack U.S. embassies in Baghdad and beyond.
He also took aim at House lawmakers who have voted to limit his war powers. ABC's Megan Tafrizian is here with more. Megan, good morning.
Good morning, Janae and Kenneth. A week after President Trump ordered the attack on Qasem Soleimani, he's now offering a new reason for killing him. At his first rally since ordering that fatal drone strike against Qasem Soleimani, President Trump saying the Iranian commander was planning attacks on multiple U.S. embassies.
He was looking very seriously at our embassies, and not just the embassy in Baghdad. But we stopped him, and we stopped him quickly, and we stopped him cold.
And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Fox News echoing the president's remarks.
There is no doubt that there were a series of imminent attacks that were being plotted by Qasem Soleimani. We don't know precisely when, and we don't know precisely where, but it was real.
But several senators briefed on the intelligence say there was no mention of a plot to bomb an embassy. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying the president's actions endangered U.S. service members and diplomats.
The president to say, oh, I inform you by reading my tweets. No, that's not the relationship that our founders had in mind.
That's one of the reasons House Democrats and some Republicans approved a resolution requiring the president to get congressional approval for any future military action against Iran that lasts longer than 30 days.
It is this body that needs to make that decision, and the United States Senate.
The White House calling the War Powers resolution, quote, ridiculous and completely misguided.
Would you go to Congress to take further military action against Iran? Would you seek congressional approval?
It would all depend on the circumstance. I don't have to, and you shouldn't have to be able, because you have to make split-second decisions sometimes. Sometimes you have to move very, very quickly, John.
And on Thursday...
No, Thomas, he does not know how checks and balances work. Because I don't think he's actually noticed, but, you know, when you're about to cause a war or go into a war, there's this little thing, oh yeah, you gotta make sure with Congress first. Of course, the whole thing with, of course, Trump loves the idea of being the dictator. He loves, you know what he is? He is like being the dictator that wants to be the hero so bad. It's the best way I can say it. He wants to basically be Chuck Norris in Delta Force. If you've never seen Delta Force and you're an 80s kid, or you just got bored one day and they want to change the channel and you saw something that was just completely outlandish and couldn't therefore be realistic, that's Trump. At the same time, he kills, and keep in mind, he wants to be the hero of a problem he created. There was no need for us to go after Iran. I mean, except for the fact that maybe Iran just discovered a new oil field worth $53 billion. So, as me and Thomas have joked a lot, maybe Iran could use some freedom. But, America! Yeah, definitely, America. So, again, this isn't the craziest part. This all happened in the middle of a week, mind you. So, the next part of this is, I expect this from Iraq. From Iraq, not Iran. Iraq, which is next door to Iran, had this to say, and this is all captioned, so I apologize.
الالتزام بإنهاء تواجد أي قوات أجنبية في الأراضي العراقية ومنعها من استخدام الأراضي والمياه والأجواء العراقية لأي سبب كان. أطلب من المجلس التصويت على القرار. سيد النائب تمت الموافقة على القرار على الحكومة.
Okay, For those that didn't see or try to, I apologize, just because it was translated and captioned, guys. But pretty much, Iraqi's parliament government has just voted to oust all American forces. Let's try this again. Iraq has voted on ousting all U.S. American forces from their country. Keep in mind, we've been in Iraq since 2001. 19 years later, we're still there. We're kind of like that. We're kind of like that one house. It's like one drunk uncle that swears up and down his business is going to take off, but he's still in your basement. That's pretty much us. So, in this case, Iraq, in conjunction with Iran, is wanting to oust all American military forces. Let's be honest. The only reason we're still over there is to protect our interest, and by interest I mean oil and oil subsidiaries. And at this point, you would think by now that if our country doesn't want us there, we should just pack up and leave. Yeah, apparently Dorito had different opinions about that.
Said Sunday that the United States will not leave Iraq, quote, on friendly terms and threatened to impose sanctions on the country if forced to withdraw American troops. Quote, if they do ask us to leave, if we don't do it in a very friendly basis, we will charge them sanctions like they've never seen before ever. It'll make Iranian sanctions look somewhat tame, Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One on Sunday afternoon when asked about the vote by Iraq's parliament to end U.S. troop presence in the country. If there's any hostility, that they do anything we think is inappropriate, we're going to put sanctions on Iraq, very big sanctions on Iraq, Trump added.
Yep, just when you thought the story was getting any crazier, we've been asked to leave. Trump says, no, we're going to impose sanctions on you if we feel this way. And as if it was already put in place, the final part of this, which is crazy, I wish I could make this up.
Previously announced by the president, we are announcing additional sanctions against the Iranian regime as a result of the attack on U.S. and allied troops. First, the president is issuing an executive order authorizing the imposition of additional sanctions against any individual owning, operating, trading with, or assisting sectors of the Iranian economy, including construction, manufacturing, textiles, and mining. And let me be clear, these will be both primary and secondary sanctions.
Yes, as if we've now come full circle. Therefore, our Lord and Savior, Lord Dorito, he imposes sanctions and his minions follow. Of course, Steve Mnuchin, the only guy in this world who can protect Trump's tax returns, is now turning around and following the president's suit and saying that we are now going to impose sanctions on Iran. Even though it's kind of funny that Iraq is the one that wants to leave, Trump is wanting to sit there and say, oh, we're going to impose sanctions on Iraq, but we're just going to turn around and put them on Iran. So it's kind of like you're trying to blame, it's like you got a set of twins and you're trying to blame one for the other, but at the same time, they all get it because they're all associated with each other. That's what this whole thing is. So we got to recap here because I just actually went across 5 different things that happened in the middle of a week. But the simple fact of the matter is we honestly have no beef with Iran. I know there are people out there that feel like the former Iran general was a terrorist, did kill Americans, things of that nature. That's your opinion, okay? I'm not going to argue that. What I am going to argue is we basically just went and picked a fight. And keep in mind, in America's history, we've only had 20 years where there wasn't a war. Every other part, we were engaged in a theater of war somewhere around the world. We actually have more bases in the Middle East than we do in any other part of the country. We actually protect more oil subsidiaries in the Middle East than we do on our own soil. At the same time, when is it going to be to the point to where we are finally going to leave, especially for a country that does not want us there? And especially to go against the country simply because we decided to fire the first shot and kill the general and expect them to be grateful that we killed one of their folk heroes. Yep, that's America for you. But moving right along, guys, Pelosi has finally decided to do what we all knew was going to happen.
Just moments ago, offering a timeline now to finally deliver the articles of impeachment from the House to the Senate. It will happen next week. There's been, of course, several weeks of delay. The Speaker writing in a Dear Colleague letter released just moments ago, quote, I have asked Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler to be prepared to bring to the floor next week a resolution to appoint managers and transmit articles of impeachment to the Senate. I will be consulting with you at our Tuesday House Democratic Caucus meeting on how we proceed further. Let's get straight to CNN's Manu Raju.
Yep. So the articles of impeachment, the ones that Nancy Pelosi has been holding on, the two articles of impeachment, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, will be presented to the Senate floor. For all those that don't or know about the impeachment process or may have forgotten about it since Trump's tried to start a whole nother war to distract us from it, yes, that is still going to be going in full swing. Is it going to be a fair trial? Probably not. Simply put, because most of the Senate, who will act as a jury, has already made up their mind. They're going to toe the party line. They are going to sit there and more than likely bend the knee, if one to speak. And at the same time, we should not be surprised at this point that yes, it still can go sideways. Yes, there are some Republicans who actually might go against the party lines and actually hear the information out. Only because that if this president is reelected, 9 times out of 10, their jobs will be in danger by mid-election period. Which means that if Dorito is still in office by then, he could be facing a democratically controlled House and a democratically controlled Senate. And let's just see how far he gets with that. But I could be wrong because, like I said, the Simpsons have yet to be wrong. I'm not saying we should go by them, but I'm just saying they're undefeated whenever they say something. But moving right along, guys, this article I did find interesting about the American Dream. You know about the American Dream, right? The 3.5 bedroom house, white picket fence, your 2.5 kids, you know, having barbecues on the back lawn, you know, having your own property. Well, it's only possible if you make $500,000 a year. They've actually did a study on this. Of course, this all goes back to income. Is that only currently 37% of those in the middle class, those are actually below the 90K line, are actually being able to own housing and things of that nature. And this all goes back to the simple fact of the matter is just that this goes back to income and disparities in the wage gap, in which that for the simple fact of the matter, as much as it's the American dream, a lot of us will not be able to afford it, simply put, because as the cost of everything else goes up, our paychecks remain the same. Even though, you know, a lot of people sit there and say the economy is doing great, I will be one of the ones that will sit there and say the economy should not be based about how many jobs are created. The economy should be based on how those of the middle and lower class are doing, not by the top percent, because the top percent will always do great, no matter what. I mean, you're rich. If you're rich, financial issues are the least of your problems. Really, they are. However, if you're in the middle and lower class, however, not so much. You are in the struggle, as we call it. You know, nothing wrong with ramen. There ain't nothing wrong with ramen. Ramen gets you through sometimes, sodium and all. But for all those that ain't struggling on ramen, they're not going to sit there and see the same problems everyone else do. That's the disparity in wage gaps among classes. So it's amazing, like if you're like myself and you want to be a future homeowner, you're already probably looking at a very steep hill. And not to say that you can't climb it, but I'm not going to say it's not easy either. And that's what a lot of people may or may not understand when it comes to the financial struggle. And honestly, in this case, probably never will, just because of their outlook on life. Speaking of jobs, this was interesting. As far as that thing I just talked about.
Just released the December jobs report. Let's get right to our chief business correspondent, Christine Romans, with the numbers. What are you saying?
You know, I'm going to call this a solid finish to the year, but not sizzling. And here's why. You saw October, November both revised down a little bit there. So that's the weakest. December was the weakest month since May, when we had only 62,000 net new jobs. The unemployment rate, though, stays near this 3.5%. This is really low. 3.5% there. One wonders, though, why at 3.5% unemployment, wages only grew 2.9%. That's been the riddle of this recovery, the missing piece, the underbelly of a strong labor market. You haven't seen working people rejoicing with higher paychecks just yet. I thought that would happen in 2019. It really hasn't yet. Let's look at the sectors here overall. Retail trade, another strong month there. Healthcare, about 400,000 healthcare jobs for the whole year. That has been a steady performer. Any kind of politician talking about whatever they want to do in healthcare, remember, this has been the driver of the economy. Manufacturing lost another 12,000 jobs, you guys. It's not been a good year for manufacturing. Up for the year, up just a tiny bit, but really what you're seeing there essentially is a recession in manufacturing. Quickly, we now have the whole year. This is what the year looks like. 2.1 million net new jobs, not as good as the tax cut fueled last year. And really what pretty much average of what we've seen over the past maybe 8 or 9 years, guys.
So we really should be surprised by everything she just said. She literally and figuratively just said, jobs are great, but wages haven't increased. That's what happens when you're in unregulated capitalism. You sat there and gave the tax breaks and all the incentives to the job creators, to the corporations. And what they do? They pay themselves. What they pay their workers? Exactly the same thing as last year. And yet it's like, but we create new jobs. Yes, at the same wages. You basically Walmarted everybody. And at the same time, you really should not be surprised. The simple fact of the matter is just that, yes, and I've said this once before, and it's yet to be argued. It is yet to be argued because they know we're right. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you don't increase wages, that's why economies stay stagnant. You can add all the jobs in the world you want to, but if you're still under my opinion, the $15 an hour minimum wage line, the economy will not see an impact, no matter how many jobs you throw at it. That's pretty much like running water on a broken sink. That sink will never get full, but your underside will need a lot of repair. And in this case, we cannot sit there and say above all else that there is an income disparity gap. And this goes back to, like I said, the minimum wage. Still $7.25 an hour. We are in 2020 and the minimum wage is still $7.25 and has yet to be risen since 2009. Again, why in the world are we not sitting at $15 an hour by now? If you take in the matter, technically $15 an hour is just being nice. If you really take inflation and things of that nature into place, it's really $17 an hour. Because the whole idea of minimum wage is the fact that you can live comfortably at the minimalist amount. And let's be honest, nobody can get around these days on $7.25 an hour. Hell, nobody these days can get around on 12 or 13 or 14. Honestly, 15 would be the minimum, but if it was up to me, I would say 17. Just because the fact of the matter is, everything in cost has gone up except what you're getting paid. That you either have to find additional jobs, work harder, find side jobs, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, all that stuff. I mean, as Chris Rock said it best, sometimes you just gotta make enough just to be broke. And that's an ugly thing to say. But that is the mindset of most folks in America. It's like you have to make enough. You honestly have to make just enough just to break even, and that sucks as a mindset. But at this point, if the jobs that we're working aren't paying more, it's like you have to make ends meet somehow. And unfortunately, until Congress gets off their ass and raises the minimum wage, we're gonna be stuck with that. So another thing I want to get into, which I still find it funny. An Arizona senator wanted to introduce an interesting bill. It's just better if I just play it.
Arizona State Senator Sylvia Allen has proposed a bill that would prohibit any sex education for students under the age of 12. So, first of all, a 12-year-old is already what they call a tween, and they know about everything by then, don't they? And not necessarily the right way.
Yeah.
So do you think the conversation should start earlier? At what age should a child be, should you talk about sex to your children?
My mom told me when I was like maybe 7.
What'd she say?
Wow. She said, this is how babies are made, and respect your body, and don't let anybody touch your private parts. You know, the usual, the swimsuit talk about the private parts. Oh. And listen, I feel like...
There's a swimsuit talk?
There's a swimsuit. You can't touch nowhere where the swimsuit touches.
Oh.
Yeah, never heard that? No. So if you wear
I've never heard that, but hey, it's pretty nice. But for the simple fact of the matter is, I don't want to go too much into it because because it's The View and we'll be here all night. But yes, Arizona senator wants to ban sex. I mean, I understand the title was misleading, but she wants to introduce a bill where pretty much sexual education would not be introduced to kids 12 and under. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem with teenage pregnancy and just overall rape and things of that nature. We're educating them way too soon. Or we're not educating them at all. Because the last time I checked, sexual education still used to be that videotape that your teacher had to pop in, but you had to get your parents to sign it because they showed all this stuff from the 80s, you know, with the guy with the fucked up haircut and the messed up jeans, an old girl who's sitting right there is like, I think I'm bleeding. And of course, I mean, outdated, let's just be honest, it's outdated education. But the thing about sexual education is it's needed, it's required. Sexual education, along with providing condoms, along with providing contraceptives, birth control, things of that nature, actually reduces teen pregnancy, reduces the outbreak of STDs, reduces a lot of things that these kids are going through because they're not understanding of their actual biology. Education works, people. It's always worked since the dawn of time. We should not be surprised with the simple fact of the matter is just that there are people out there who literally want to dumb down America, and the way you dumb down America, you start with education first and let nature take its course. And then at this point, again, sexual education is needed. I mean, hell, I got, oh God, I want to talk about, I'm going to show my age now. My sexual education class was in 6th grade, 9 or 10 years old. 9 or 10 years old, sexual education. And we got a tape. And I'd say, for all those that remember the tape, some of y'all may have gotten a little bit more updated stuff, but for me, I got the tape. And on that tape, it was funny because it was situations that we would never run into, but at the same time, it did provide some insight. And of course, you can't always depend on your parents. I mean, you would like to think so about sexual education that, you know, your parents are going to help out. Some parents do, and some parents will threaten you and say, you know, don't bring any babies in the house. Don't let no boy get you pregnant. If you want to go the Jackson 5 route, don't kiss a boy while laying on the bed, that kind of stuff. But sexual education by itself is vital. And the simple fact of the matter is that a senator is trying to introduce a bill to do an age limit on when sexual education can be taught is dangerous as hell. At the same time, you won't be surprised that in that very same, we really shouldn't be surprised from Arizona. Their former governor wanted to introduce a bill to where all foreigners need to require papers on them because the police, if they determine that they were illegal, can actually ask for them papers. You know, kind of what ICE is doing right now. Papers, please. Papers, please. You know, not to sound like they're Nazis, but let's be honest. Who else asked for papers besides the Gestapo? So for the simple fact of the matter is, it just makes any sense. It makes no sense that in sexual education it needs to be taught. It needs to be actually reformatted because I'll be honest, the last time I saw a sexual education tape was honestly my brothers and sisters when they were in school. But beyond that, if it has changed, cool. But we definitely shouldn't reduce it. We actually should increase it because let's be honest, these days kids are gonna find ways to coitus themselves. They're gonna find ways. The best thing you can do, because like I said, you're not gonna stop it. You're not gonna stop 2 determined kids from having sex. You're not. The best thing you can do is actually show them that they can protect themselves the best way they can possibly, and hope above all else that they use them. But the last story we get to before we get to our feel-good segments, of course, another Democratic candidate has bit the dust.
Now one fewer candidate in the Democratic field of presidential hopefuls. Marianne Williamson suspended her campaign today. She said she didn't believe she could pick up enough support in the coming contest to make a difference in the race to challenge President Trump. Williamson barely registered in the polls and has struggled with fundraising. She recently laid off her entire campaign staff.
Yes, another one bites the dust, and we are now down to 5. Marianne Williamson, for all those that don't know, she is an author that has spoken out openly against Trump, that somehow made it to a Democratic debate stage and wanted to run for president. Well, let's just be honest. If a failed reality star / businessman bankruptcy individual can be president, who's not to say that she can't be either? Unfortunately, for the simple fact of the matter is that she had no policies. She had no policies to stand on. She basically didn't speak anything that was actually connecting with folks. And above all else, she simply was just there as a distraction. So, shouldn't be surprised that Marianne Williamson is actually out, at the same sense that she's suspending her campaign. As I said on the previous podcast, when they suspend their campaigns, that means that the campaign money that has been collected does not have to be given back. It's actually held in escrow, which is a very sneaky way of actually keeping the campaign money in the event that you ever wanted to run again. Hence, suspension. Now, if they did say that they were ending their campaign, that would be completely different. That means that the money would have to be given back. But when they say suspend, that means that they are intending of running again, or they could never run again, and the money just sits there just in case. But again, I think at this point, we are still now down to Warren, Sanders, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Biden, which means that we are now to our top 5. Give me your top 5. Although at this point, realistically, I think we could be looking at Warren, Sanders, and Biden. I think eventually Klobuchar and Buttigieg may be on their way out. Although Buttigieg is picking up momentum as far as being able to connect to others, Klobuchar more than likely may be the next person to go. But only because, like I said, she's kind of a sort of a Marianne Williamson. She's just there, but not really giving any policies, things of that nature to follow up on. And as far as connecting, she's got about as much connection to the crowd as Kamala Harris does to black people. Yes, I said it. So, with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and go into our feel-good segment. Like I said on How the Frack We Got Here, we do talk about a lot of things that are doom and gloom and sometimes not so well, but it's the weekend. And I know probably for a lot of us, the weather is not going to be very friendly to us, but hey, we're still going to make it work because there are those that aren't working, those that are needing a much-deserved rest from the work week, and honestly just trying to chill, however you want to do it. And these stories that we found, I should say I found, I keep on saying we like I got a staff, although Thomas is behind me, so that, that could be considered a staff. That could be considered staff. I mean, you only need one person to have a staff. But anyway, the first story I got here is pretty much a viral one. Fellas, if you are intending on proposing to your woman this year, have her not watch this video because you're going to really have to step your game up.
Proposals there have been the greats. On deserted islands, underwater, even the extreme. But none can compete with what is quite literally a fairy tale. You see that, Prince Charming? That's Lee Leckler. And for 6 months, he worked with an illustrator to animate his high school sweetheart into her favorite movie. Then, with a dashing smile and her puzzled look, things get magical. His girlfriend's still in shock, totally unaware that the theater is filled with their friends and family.
Oh my God, these poor people.
They're all in on it.
Oh my God! I don't even know what to say.
I hope you do, but Stiffy David. Will you live happily ever after with me?
Yes.
And with that, modern romance may have just finally reached its peak. Gotti Schwartz, in.
And like I said, fellas, if you see this and you want to propose to your girl, y'all gotta step your game up because you know what she won't say it out loud, but she'll be like, this man got me illustrated. He got me illustrated, got a whole bunch of my family and friends in a movie theater. I didn't even see the shit coming, and it was beautiful. And you're gonna be like, damn, where am I gonna find a dude that picks out that can put you in a movie? Because let's be honest, if I was being petty, and I'm not trying to be petty, but Thomas always he's around about to go with this. For all those that have ever seen The Incredibles, oh god, and I'm talking about the scene at the end where Samuel L. Jackson and his wife are having the greatest argument that is still being played in households everywhere, I would take that part and make that the marriage proposal. I know it's messed up. Like I said, I'm not petty. So. And I'm sitting here playing it in my head as I speak.
I have one question about that.
What's that?
I'm all for like the happily ever after like that, but I'm saying the way my luck pan out, I can see me doing some shit like that, and then her saying some shit like, I don't think I'm ready for that. Like, what do you have as a follow up after that? Because immediately afterwards, because what I saw in my head, and I was like, this is where I go home and drink a whole fifth in like 5 minutes.
Oh, you talking about
because you see the illustration in the background of all the animals clapping and cheering. Like if she says no, because that shit's still playing on the goddamn projector. It ain't going to no switch screen. It's just, the way my luck goes, she'll be like, I don't think I'm ready for that. And then you should see like the illustration of all the animals and everybody going on the screen. You're like,
not the bomb. If it bombs,
yes.
Not if it bombs. If it bombs, that's just.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Let's. You know what? Let's be positive. Let's be positive. Let's not say that because Thomas does got a point. That could have went so far south, but we're glad she said yes.
Right,
because we're so glad yes.
God damn.
Because that could have went sideways. But anyway, in other news that we got here, this guy inspires me to get back into bowling just because, he gives me no excuse.
Birthday isn't as important as it once was. However, I say celebrate each and every one.
I'm with you there. Today, Mike Hsu reports on a man who now is very aware of how many times he's blown out the candles.
Easily, the most experienced bowler here is Mr. Art Green.
Everybody in here loves Mr. Art. He's kind of like, I guess you could say, our dad.
Sure, he knows how to keep it in between the gutters. But it's not really his bowling that brings us to the AMF lanes in Woodlawn.
Mr. Art threw that ball down there like he was like 50 years old.
That's funny, considering Mr. Art is a lot older than that.
Happy birthday, Mr. Art Green.
Rosalie Glover has known him for 61 years. So if she's known him for that long, just how old is he? Well, here's his birthday card. Look closer. That's not a misprint. There should be 103 candles on his cake.
You gotta get 103 slices out of there.
Mercifully, though, there's only 1 candle per decade and 3 for each additional year. Otherwise, we'd be here till he was 104. He drinks milk every day, knows his way around a casino, and is unsure why he's been blessed with such a long life.
I bowl in the league every winter since 1967.
Clearly, being active has helped, and his mother and 3 aunts all lived past 100. He doesn't know where it will end, but he still bowls well beyond his age.
I just got up every morning. One time, when I looked around and I was 103, and how I got there, I don't know.
Mr. Art's 37,600 plus days on this earth are an inspiration to all.
As the little kids say, I want to grow up to be like Mike. Well, I want to grow up to be like Art. Mr. Art, I wish you many more years. I'm sure you'll have them.
A man whose scorecard has certainly been given an extra frame or two. How much?
Yes, I wish I could make that up. When I first read that story, I'm like, the guy is 103. And you would swear up and down he does look like he's in his 50s and 60s. Which tells you off the bat of many things that whatever genes is going through him needs to be replicated somewhere. But I do love hearing stories like that. Of course, like people, he said every one of his family members have lived to be over 100. And I'm like, 103 and still bowling? I like to be 100 and something and still lifting or walking. I mean, you can tell for a 103-year-old, he's getting around pretty damn good. And I can't be mad at that. I celebrate that. Although, that would be my retirement. If you just want to get up and go bowling, and maybe that's his secret. Maybe his whole secret, besides being active, is he goes out, he goes bowls, and he's be sociable. He's kind of like Mr. Rogers in a way, a black Mr. Rogers, if you will, because he stuck out in the cardigan, and well, okay, that was a terrible joke. Anyway, our last story is, and I was kind of halfway on this, but I want to show this because we've all had wonderful customer service. We've all had poor customer service, and we've also seen where customer service goes horribly, horribly wrong. I have to give it to this guy, and I hope that his nature of what was caught on Twitter may lead to great things. But I see another reason why people love going to Chick-fil-A, also called Jeebus Chicken. Praise Jeebus. I see why I like going to Chick-fil-A so much, because you get basically greeted kind of like this.
Today.
Can I have a #1 deluxe?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, we have American cheese, cold beer, pepper jack cheese.
American cheese.
Yes, ma'am, with a medium fry. And what was your beverage today?
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea, yes, ma'am. And how else may I serve you all?
Can I get an 8-piece nugget?
Of course. Oh, as a meal too, or just the entree by itself?
Just the entree.
Yes, ma'am. And how else may I serve you today?
Can the sauce be barbecue?
Of course you can. Oh, how many would you like today?
2.
We have that just for you. Oh, and how else may I serve you?
Can I have no tomatoes on that sandwich?
Of course. I do the same thing. No tomato? Yes, ma'am.
And can I have Polynesian sauce and
Of course,
ketchup?
Polynesian too. Ah, you guys are good at this. Oh,
That's
and how
it.
else may I serve you today?
That's it.
Amazing ordering, everyone. Your total now for a deluxe meal, American cheese, no tomato, fries and sweet tea, 8 nuggets as an entree, and I put 2 of each of barbecue and Polynesian. Your new total now is $11.98. But who are you all paying? Oh, you're prepared to? Amazing timing, everyone. You're one step away from an awesome lunch meal. It'll be a pleasure serving you at our drive-thru window after 2 more things. You know what that is. It's a fist bump each. You guys are awesome. 1 and 2. You have an awesome day up ahead. Thank
All right,
you all
thank
for choosing
you.
Chick-fil-A.
Bye-bye.
See you later, everyone.
That man had an entire spill, and I'll be honest, I like to think my promo skills are great. That man's promo skills is infectious, positive, and you can't help but smile. And I had to give that kid props. I mean, he's apparently that which went viral because of a lady that was Chick-fil-A, and of course they're recording him. And at first, his whole delivery from top down to top bottom, I'll be honest, the first time I saw this video, I was like, this must be his first couple of weeks at work. Because, let's be honest, you get the first week at work, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be impacting, I'm going to change the world and all this stuff. And then, reality hits in. And I'm not saying that this happened for this guy. It just seems like you do run into those people that literally and figuratively
suck the soul out of you being kind at
well,
work.
That too, but at the same time, I'm talking about the simple fact of the matter of individuals who really do love their job. And if you love your job, it shows. And if you love what you do, then it shows through you. It shows through your actions. And so the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, it must be his first day. And then when I looked at it again, I've learned that you can't fake joy. You can't fake genuine joy, because genuine joy is infectious. It really is. You can't be mad when you run into a joyous person, and therefore it gets you. Don't believe me? This fool behind me is eternally optimistic. Eternally optimistic. And you know what the problem is with eternally optimistic people? They take people like me and start making me think I can be optimistic.
You can.
See? Already. Already. But not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But that's why I say there's fake and then there's genuine. Genuine is infectious. Fake, you can spot it. And what that young man had right there was genuine. I mean, if he sits there and he really makes everybody feel good this way, that Chick-fil-A is going to get a shitload of business, number one, if they're not already getting it. And number two, I do hope for that young man, that his actions and whatnot as far as what he's doing, because let's be honest, people will be like, but he's taking orders at a drive-thru window. Hey, we all start somewhere, because I'll be honest, nobody ever starts at the top, unless you white, rich, possibly got a dad that's into criminal activities. But anyway, aside from that, like I said, hopefully it leads to somewhere for this cat, because, like I said, with an attitude like that, it's just hard not to stay anything but just smiling afterwards. Because you know why? You get a fist bump for being awesome. Yeah, I can't. Hey, some promos work for people, some promos work for dope. But anyway, that's going to be the end of our show for this week, guys. So I do thank everybody for watching. Also, we'll always say thank you. Because when I first started this, I did not know how many people would watch this, and I'm surprised that every week it just seems to be growing. And folks, which I don't mind the creepy message on Facebook, but kind of let me know what you're doing before you say, hey, love what you did. And I'm like, that could cover so many things. But But I always do appreciate that. I really do. Some shameless plugging before I do get out of here. Like I said, Mr. Eternally Optimistic behind me. Are you doing a podcast today or what?
Yeah, I'm doing my podcast.
He is doing a podcast today. Would you like to tell him what that podcast is, sir?
Today's podcast is gonna be just stepping outside the norm as far as my normal format.
But first, you should tell him about the podcast he's doing.
Yes, it's about a former fluffy motherfucker myself who got semi-fit currently where I am now, and just all about what you can do when you stop bullshit and realize everything can be determined by you. So it's a fitness-based podcast, not really encompassing trying to get people where I'm at, just reaching your own fitness level. It's go to my page, Thomas Reed. It's going to be today between 3 and 5 of the sermon when I'm going to do that. Get it to be determined. Where everything's to be determined by you.
And where can they see it, sir?
I said go to my...
What's your page?
I said go to Thomas Reed. Oh, yes. I do have to get this down. So I have a YouTube page that I am going to work on today. Count it. All right, so in the YouTube page is letter two.
I'm just thinking about that's a lot of class for more still. That's a lot of class for more still. But go ahead,
bruh. You don't eat them.
Go ahead.
It's letter 2 to the letter T. The letter B to letter D. That's 2 TBD. Where everything's being served by you.
I was having way too much fun with that. I'm sorry. I was having way too much fun with that.
You go with the clap every time you use a syllable.
You was literally just, that was Morse. Why was that Morse code? Like, you know what? On site. It's on site. I was like, why are you clapping?
Everybody knows that one hood person was like, bruh, you don't even know right now. It's like every syllable they...
You know what? Not to get the end of the show's promotions, but you ever notice that when folks clap, it's almost like they have to sound out the words by clapping?
Yeah.
Like, oh my mama. I was like,
you almost see like the bouncing ball.
Yes, you almost see like the bouncing ball as they're talking. Oh my mama. I was like, why are you clapping like you sound out words? Anyway, I'm sorry. We're getting way too distracted, guys. I apologize. So let me go ahead and get into it for the other ones that are here. Other brothers for different mother, Vaughn, 8.Westpoon on Facebook, Big BZ8 on YouTube, has several podcasts of his own. His first one is called The VSTs. The VSTs is a news podcast. That news can be music, video games, or trailers, as he loves to show. Interactive show, just like ours. He also has Rhythmness. We can reminisce over the rhythm in which he goes over the albums of the past and the present and grades to a 4-tier rating system. If you haven't noticed that on Rhythmness, me and Vaughn have, we love each other as family members, but we definitely do have different tastes in the musical spectrum. Some days I agree with him, some days I don't. But anyway, you should join in because it is a podcast for music lovers and no one is left out. Trust me, we've tried. And also his other show, Random as Fuck with Uncle VZ. What is Random as Fuck? Random as Fuck is the pool of ratchetness we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life and basically have a chuckle at things. Some videos make you think, some videos make you cry, some videos are immortal. Burger King on Fire, the old man rapping in the studio. And my personal favorite, old girl plays UFC at Best Buy. Or she probably could pay lineman, honestly, because the way she kind of trucked dude outside Best Buy when he was trying to steal an Xbox, I gotta give her credit. I hope Dana White does hire her. But anyway, all those can be found under his Facebook page at Ada.Westpoon on Facebook or his YouTube page, JavikVZA.podcast. And also other brothers from different mother, Trace Brown, King Eddie Wayne on Facebook, DJ King Eddie Wayne on YouTube, has several podcasts of his own. His first one is called The Bump Down, which is music, culture, knowledge, and numbers, in which he goes over chart work. He goes up on the underground, upcoming artists he's working for, and also usually plays Negro Damas to a lot of people who are coming up and will blow up, because he called Moneybag Yo, he called The Baby before anybody knew who The Baby was. I personally don't get The Baby. I don't understand why as a grown-ass man you call yourself The Baby, but hey, apparently it works for you. So, of course, with that show, it literally leads to a follow-up into the from the Bump Down leads into the Smoke of Truth. Now, I will say this: if you're an upcoming artist that wants your music to be played on Trace's Bump Down or Vaughn's Rhythmness, please reach out to Trace or Vaughn on their Facebook page, and they'll give you the details on how you can upload your music. The only thing that we do ask is that you do bring your fire, because you never know who's actually watching our podcast. You may be able to come up, because let's be honest, if Cardi B can come up stripping, if Chance the Rapper can come off mixtapes, and Lupe Fiasco can come off a single cover of Wipe Me Down, then you too can come up in the world and be able to sit there and say how you made it. But definitely bring your fire. I'm talking about bringing that Dailan, 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 and Dailan, and spit out Ayazan. And that's how you should do it. aside from Trace's bump down, it does leads into the Smoke of Truth, where he basically goes there as far as giving an unorthodox but intelligent view into a lot of today's subjects of the world and news. And if you're willing to talk about it, then god dang, he's willing to talk about it with you. But understand, Trace wants all the smoke. Of course, his podcast can be found under his Facebook, King Eddie Wayne, also his YouTube, DJ King Eddie Wayne. And for yours truly here, of course, How the Frack We Got Here is every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. Of course, later on tonight from 8 to 10 p.m. will be the Off Limits podcast. We are the podcast that goes there. We do talk about the subjects that most people will not want to talk about, but we do it in a modern, civilized manner to where people can actually share their opinions and not talk over each other, not trying to force each other's opinions down each other's throats. Simply put, we may agree, we may disagree, but at the end of it all, we'll still be able to have an honest conversation. And like I said, you can join into it too, as many people have already joined into this discussion here. And of course, on Sunday, me and Mountain Blaster behind me will be doing Get Bit. It's our blurred podcast where we talk about sci-fi, we talk about comics, we talk about anime, we talk about video games, we talk about pretty much everything from a blurred perspective. Because let's be honest, blurred being a black person, a nerd put together, there are many other podcasts out there that do cover the same type of things, but they don't cover them from our view of the situation, in which how Get Bit was born. So, if you do want to watch those things, basically just look under my show, basically under my name on Facebook, William Buchanan, because I've been told it's very easy to find. I don't know how I should take that, but I'm just going to take that as a grain of salt. But of course, find me under Facebook at William Buchanan, or on my YouTube pages if you look up How the Frack We Got Here, Off Limits Podcast, and Get Bit. That is GITBIT. You'll be able to see every podcast we've done from there, and like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine, but always feel free to share it, because at the same time, what may not be good for you may be good for somebody else. So if you think that this might be up their alley, please, oh please, like, share, and subscribe. And let me not forget my buddy Powdered Donut, otherwise known as Wingnut Gaming on Facebook, with his own gaming channel. If you like, share, and subscribe, he likes playing first-person shooters. He likes playing Apex Legends. He likes playing Call of Duty. He likes playing Battlefield. He even plays Fortnite. His choice, not mine. But he does like to socialize and make new friends. And honestly, he is a goofball to know, because I've known him for well over 10 years. But definitely give him a like, share, and subscribe on Facebook Gaming. Just look up Wingnut Gaming and tell him to tell you that I told you to call him a powdered donut. Trust me, he'll get the reference. Aside from that, guys, again, thank you for all those that let me know you like the show, that you like what I'm doing, and all those that say, hey, we like it, but we want you to do this, or I would prefer you say that, or prefer you cover this. That's the things that I love, because like I said, I started out with this whole idea with the show of just basically giving a different type of view, not always being stuck by FCC standards or sticking by whatever is out there, but pretty much looking at something and actually bring a different perspective to it. And I did not think I would get the same response. I honestly think I didn't get a response at all, personally. But I always want to say thank you, because you guys actually make me worth doing it. And like I said, I'm trying to tailor the show to where everybody can enjoy it, everybody can understand it, because let's be honest, information is so vital, and the simple fact of the matter is we all could use it. So thank you for all those that liked what I did. Thank you for all those that tell me you didn't like it. I'm good with that. I'm okay with constructive criticism. I want to know what you liked and what you didn't like, because it'll make the show better. At the same time, if there's stories that you want to be talked that aren't being covered, that you think should be covered, let us know. Simply put, because we're trying to actually do those things. And at the same time, thank you is really all I can sit there and say. I'm thankful. Like Marshawn Lynch at an interview. where you every question, hey Marshawn, how does it feel to be back on the Seattle Seahawks? I'm thankful. Hey Marshawn, do you think you can win a Super Bowl? I'm thankful. I'm thankful is what I'm trying to get at, But anyway, thank you everybody who stuck around, like I said, who liked, shared, subscribed, started a watch party. I certainly appreciate it. The last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here is all about staying informed. Like I said, staying informed means that you're not accepting everything at face value. You are literally going in and actually finding the information out for yourself, doing the homework, finding out the actual true facts, and being able to share with somebody else and inspire and hope to do the same. Because an informed group of individuals can make a better decision than a group of uninformed ones, because uninformed uninformed individuals got us to vote Trump, and that's how the frack we got here. So, with that being said, I've been Will. The guy behind me has been Thomas. This has been how the frack we got here for January 11th of 2020. Thank you all for watching. Please be safe if you're in severe weather, and always our thoughts are all those with those out in Australia, because right now Australia is a hot plate. We hope that the rains down there will calm down most of the fires, and hopefully at the end of it all, the rebuilding can begin. So, definitely with us in Australia, because like I said, we want to go down under, but not when down under's on fire, but hopefully it'll be taken care of. But aside from that, guys, thank you for all watching. We are out.